Hello and welcome to Science Never Stops. I'm your host, Joseph Vick, and today's topic is creating your own scientific journal. Now, as a scientist, it's important to collect your data and write down all your observations. As my background is field biology, I have made field biology notebooks all my life, going through even as a kid, recording the data, recording various things that I find upon hikes and various scientific journaling and writing down all that I've learned. And a scientific journal is you being able to express what your ideas are, what your experiment results were, and then having this data to share with other scientists and other people that are equally interested in the experiment as you are. And we're going to make our very own scientific journal today. Now, this scientific journal will be useful for us because we're going to be using it for the remainder of our time together for our home learning with Science Never Stops. So your home journal can be anything. It can be like a little pre-made book like this with blank pages. It can be a really cool composition book like my Space Cat composition book here with just notebook paper on the inside that you can use to write down your data. Or it can be a 3-ring binder that you can have and fill with graph paper or notebook paper, and you can take out and put in the sheets of paper as we go along. That is up to you, but I do encourage you to go out, find your own around the house or in the room. It doesn't have to be a brand new one. It can be even paper that you put together and staple together, and you can continue to staple those pages together as we continue to do our experiments. It can be as simple as that. But also recommend getting some different markers, pencils, crayons, colored pencils that you too can use to make it your very own. This notebook, this journal is your creative expression of science, where you can design, you can draw, you can write, and it's up to you. So with that, go find your notebook, and we'll start with our first notebook entry, the scientific method. Now, for our first piece of scientific research we're going to put in our journal is a practice for the scientific method and experiment setup, so that we know the steps that we're going to take for the future experiments we're going to be putting into our scientific journal. So I have set up an experiment here that we can use as an example, and I have put in my scientific notebook the setup that I would like you to mimic with your scientific notebook. Now, the first part has to do with your experiment name. So experiment name, I put scientific method so that you can list that. So let's say this one is plant growth. You could put plant growth right there. Date, so whatever date it is, I honestly don't know what today's date is. So we have that date listed here. And or dates, so let's say this experiment takes a week or 2 weeks, you can write every date for the experiment, and that will count as your data. Also, the scientist or scientists, plural, so if you are working with your siblings, your parents, your grandparents, you can write their names down here as helping scientists, because sometimes in scientific work, scientists do work in pairs or in groups. First, we need to make observations and ask questions. So look around, ask questions. What, where, why? So asking questions like, plants are green. What makes plants green? Why are plants green? How do I know if plants are green? So those are questions that you can ask and observations that you can make while you're setting up your experiment or looking to do an experiment. The next has to do with a fancy scientific word called hypothesis, which is a testable question, which is a question that you can ask to then go, I want to see if I can experiment with that question. And I wrote down, does changing the amount of light affect the growth rate of plants? So the amount of sunshine or the amount of artificial light with a flashlight, that I could see if that would make the plant grow more. And growth rate, meaning I would need to measure, so I have a measuring ruler here. So next, with that question, I'm going to predict, I think more light means more growth. So that's going to be my prediction. More light equals more growth. Then I'm going to set up my experiment. I drew a really cool picture. So I have my plant, my measuring tape, and my flashlight. So over several days, I could hold up my flashlight or put it in a sunny window and then take measurements. As I took measurements here, day 1, 2, 3, 4, and determined how much growth was based on the amount of light. And then the last one, which is the most important, has to do with communicating your results. So scientists collectively write down all of their data. They write it down, they analyze it, they put it in graphs and charts, and they write lengthy papers that they share with their other scientist friends and share with the scientific community. And it's open for us to read too. And those experiment results also allow other scientists to take those experiments and do them themselves and go over and work with them. And when they look at their experiments of other scientific friends and they go, oh, I want to comment about this, or this was cool, but I would have done it this way, they call that peer-reviewed. So whenever we're doing the experiments, whenever I'm doing the experiments on the videos that you watch and you do those experiments home, you are doing exactly as other scientists would do. And if you comment below on your experiment or show pictures of what your experiment setup was, others like us in the scientific community can look at those pictures and review and comment, and that is called peer-reviewed. And that is when other scientists look at your work and comment on your work and say, great job, that was really cool, and I did it this way, and I want to show you what I did. So it's a really fun, adventurous way of learning together and being connected in the scientific community from what your data results are. So looking forward to this journey to see how all the data that we put together can be scientifically cool and awesome. So with that, decorate your journal, decorate, color, make it yours, make it an expression of who you are as a scientist, and know that science never stops.